Hi, Chad. April, if there's anything interesting you'd like to tell the group, go ahead.
Well, something unrelated. Has anyone seen the, I don't know if anyone keeps up with the Schumann resonance, but it's going absolutely crazy right now. I'll drop the website in the chat.
I'm just sending some invites. You guys go ahead and talk if you want.
What were the topics that we were going to go over tonight?
I think we're just doing general discussion, so you can talk about whatever you want.
Okay.
So much easier just to send a link in the chat than sending emails. Okay.
April, that link doesn't work.
Oops, sorry. I have to mute myself out because I'm at a restaurant. It's kind of loud in here. Let me try again.
A lot of these girls, like Ravana, it doesn't look like she's gotten to end stage veganism, which is good. You know, we don't want more.
I don't know what's going on. Oh, hi, Omago.
What? You click on the link that you got in your email, and it's going to open up a web browser. And at the top of the web browser, it's going to say something like open in, what's this stuff called? Open in Zoom. Just click that.
Hi, Laquita.
Who's that? Tell me hello.
Hi, Michael.
That might. See, you got in. Look at you, motherfucker.
Yay.
Hi, Sandy. You're Karen, right?
So what is everyone working on at the moment?
I'm just working as a secretary for you all. So what are you guys doing? Marianne, you have some really great news.
Me?
Yes. All you have to do is an update, basically.
Yep, that's all I have to do. And I was very pleased to learn that. Very, very pleased to learn that.
I'm not sure if it's Marie or Kathleen, but thank you so much for everything you do. I know it's probably a ton of work.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad that you're all getting some kind of benefit.
Oh, definitely.
Let me make sure Holly's getting this. We're recording to cloud, so it should come out okay to share later.
Thank you.
Good evening, Marie.
Stop that.
what's up, everybody?
Hey,
Welcome to the meeting. I don't know what meeting we're coming to, but welcome anyway. Just got to
tell me your name.
I'm the imposter.
Tell me a different name.
Why?
Is that David?
Who's this?
It's Marie.
Oh, hey,
What are you doing in here?
was invited.
By who? How did you get the invite? Just tell me how you got the invite and I'd probably leave you in here.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You can leave me or not. Make up your mind.
Well, tell me how you got the invite.
No. It's private.
Hmm. Okay. Who's XT?
Who's XT 1080? Speak up. I need to boot him too. Or her.
XT 1080, can you send me a private text telling me who you are? You can either do it with the chat function or you can just send me a private text.
Okay, I'll try to figure this out.
Okay. Man, people use different names, so I don't know who you are.
Well, I'm Danny Barron, but I
Okay.
can't. I'm working on it.
Okay, okay. Terry, who are you? And Sniper 21D, who are you? Well, as long as there's no interference, I won't worry about it for now. Let's see. We're still waiting for Holly. I can't hear you clearly, Beth.
still doing the same thing. I don't know how to fix it.
You might need to use a phone, Beth. We can't hear you clearly. Oh, really?
It wasn't doing it before. It just started last night. I don't know what the hell it is.
Terry, I invited you. I just didn't, thanks for telling me who you are. It didn't occur to me with just the name Terry. Yeah, we're talking, Sniper 21. Who are you? I'm just trying to identify everybody. We had an official intruder. I would have left him in if he would behave. Are you the one that I just booted out?
No.
Okay.
I've actually been the one talking about the 709 and the W4
Oh, okay.
taxes and gifts.
All right.
Posting questions anyway.
You're David Harvey.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. If anybody wants to go ahead and start your chat, we're 8 minutes late. Holly hasn't shown up yet, but I did send her an invite.
She's doing readings today somewhere. I'm not sure if she's done yet, so that might be the deal, but
Oh, wow. Okay.
she'll get on when she can.
Okay, well, you guys go ahead and it's just general discussion, so you can get together and talk easier.
Hey, Marie.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? I'm in the same room with Danny, and since this mic is good, I'm gonna have to ask a question for me.
You're in the room with Danny, and what else?
Since you can't hear me very well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have him ask my questions.
Okay.
Can you just tell us what you have to say?
Tell you what?
What the meeting is about?
It's general discussion. There is no one topic. We're discussing, questions and steps about Pito Lita's process.
Is anyone else working on getting information for their QSIPs?
I'm not quite to the QSIP yet.
Okay. Anybody else? Come on, y'all, don't be shy.
Hi, Holly.
Hi, Marie. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Hello.
Good.
Well, we have a little crowd here. We have general curiosity about the QSIP process or learning about it.
So do I.
need four.
So, okay, has anyone looked up QSIPs on Fidelity? Every time I try to do it, I can't pull up any information.
Yeah,
I have
you
a
have to have the ticker. You have to have either the symbol or the ticker.
Recording this. Are you recording this, Marie?
Yes, it's going to the cloud, so it should turn out okay.
Okay, perfect, thanks. So say again. Start over.
What is the specific question? Has anybody gotten any good success looking up CUSIPs on Fidelity?
You have to have the ticker or the symbol to look it up. That's why people aren't having any success with it.
Can you run through the process?
There's a bunch of different databases, but the people that have access to those would be like brokers. But yeah, that's why I haven't been able to look anything up on Fidelity because of that reason. But there is a contact in the group that does a search. And from there you can get your information.
What do they charge?
Is that?
I'm not sure. Elle, can you tell us what they charge?
Yeah, hi. This is Del Muggle. It should be, I think it's 125 for standard and 150 for.
I can't freaking hear me. Yeah, that's just what you said last time. So what the hell?
Can people mute themselves out if they're not talking? Al, do you know if that's the same contact as the Tara and Tasha that Pito uses? Ambassador, are you there?
Mago, we had difficulty hearing you before. Could you talk to us again about the CUSIP?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Alrighty.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it was the same contact, if it was like the Tara and Tasha that Pito uses.
I don't know, but it looks like from the video I saw with Pito Lito, the results look kind of the same, but they might just be the what comes out of Fidelity and the other things. But anyway, it's Wes Jarvis, and it's at 1QSIP ONECUSIP@gmail. And I'll try to look at the, he actually has a form that you fill out, and who he is, what he does. And you fill that out and then make a, what is it, a PayPal donation, and then you send the confirmation of the donation plus your birth certificate, and court case, or whatever you want the CUSIP from, and he'll get back to you. And yeah, that's it. It's ONECUSIP at Gmail. You could put that to Mr. Jarvis or Wes, or just Wes, and tell him the international group, Chiefs International Group sent you. And usually, at the best he can do is put you closer to the queue up front if it's sort of an emergency. He works by bulk. Usually our international group, we have 10, 15, so we try to kind of get them together. So he'll sort of expedite it. And And then that way we all get the 125 at an expedite fee. But let me see if I can look up the paperwork for him. I sent somebody else in the group the paperwork. Let me see if I can look for it.
So what you're saying is in order to get the QSIP for the birth certificate, we have to go through a broker?
Brokers have access to, you know, there's like 20 some different sites or databases that they use to look those up.
Yeah, so I guess Wes is, he's not a broker, but he's got access to all those databases from Bloomberg to the Fidelity. Like out of the country, you can't get into Fidelity, so we really have to use somebody else. But
and you said the international group, is that what you said? Okay.
Oh, I have a quick question too. Ambassador, can I ask you something quick?
Sure, go ahead.
Does he also have any connections for helping us to sell or trade a judgment?
Sell or trade. Have you secured the judgment already? You put it on the UCC. It's already it's ratified and the whole deal.
I will get that done in the next few weeks. I have the I'm going to start the court case process, getting the case number next week, and then send it in and get the judgment as soon as I can after I get the court case number.
Yeah, and then, so he does do court cases. That's on his list. So first thing would be to you know, develop some type of relationship with him. And he says he is doing quite a few things internationally and with a lot of private processes having to do with monetizing through the QSIPs. So I think that's probably a yes. I can't tell you for sure though. I contacted him years ago, and he's been really good with everybody we've sent him. So, but there's almost nothing he can't do. I mean, he says he can get QSIPs for anything out there.
Well, this could be like the best meeting of my entire life. So I guess I'll let you guys know in a short while how that goes. Thank you.
So what are we supposed to do with the QSIPs?
I would love some explanation on that too.
So basically what you do when you get your QSIP, you need to find the custodian information. So you would find out from the underwriter who has the account, what their EIN is, and all the information of someone that's actually holding it. And then, you know, you would give it to a broker. I have not been through the process though, so I cannot say for sure.
So there's a file. You can check out the details.
Perfect, thank you.
So does that mean that we can collect money from that, getting all that information from the QSIPs and sending it off to the brokers? We're supposed to collect money?
So basically what they're doing is they're using your name, and they're making dividends off of bonds in your name. So basically if you can track down the information of exactly who has it, you know, their EIN and everything, then what you would do is you would basically put a claim in on it and say that you want the dividends transferred to you.
To have our accounts open before we can do that sort of thing. Hello?
It sounds like someone is trying to talk, but I can't, we can barely hear it.
She was saying something about, do we need our accounts open before we can do that?
You need an account with like Fidelity, but that's super easy to set up. You can do it online too.
but shouldn't we get our treasury pack done first and get our account set up first?
April, she asked if we have to have our treasury packs.
Oh, okay. I mean, it depends on how you present yourself. You don't necessarily, you got to know what you're talking about. You got to present yourself in a way that, you know, is not going to raise any red flags with the broker.
I have a question though about putting a claim on. I don't know if you can put a claim on it in this. Can you do that if you're not an SPC?
I would not attempt anything like that until I was an SBC. I mean, you don't have to have everything set up, but at least if you're an SBC, you know, then you can claim it.
Does that answer your question? I couldn't see who was asking.
I totally agree with that, but I still think that we should have some kind of logical order in what we're doing. And I think we should concentrate on getting our treasury pack done and our account.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have your treasury pack sent in, if you don't have any of that done, yeah, don't even go there for now. I don't know where everybody's at in the whole process, so. But yeah, I wouldn't even try it if you're just kind of, you know, still setting your stuff up.
Yeah, speaking of that, this is Beth. I'm on Danny's phone because mine's not working. I'm missing a few basic docs that I need to get my trust treasury pack finished.
I think all of his documents in the pack are in the Dropbox thing. They were when I last looked at it, I guess.
And I think last night, or wasn't it last night that Karen on the chat, if you go back through the chat on the Facebook group and back up there, you can see, I think, did she leave a link? But she said she has everything done and she has written out instructions. And so she's got something ready that we can actually compile together and give in one big chunk to somebody, which is what we've all been working toward for a long time. So bless her for doing that. So I would contact her and ask her if she can maybe cross-reference, but you'll get good instructions with that too.
And who is that?
Her name is Karen. It's on the chat. If you back up a day, last night, I believe it was, and it's Karen. You can see, you're on the Facebook group chat, right?
I think so.
Well, you must have clicked on the link on the chat to get into this meeting today, right?
No, it was sent to me in Messenger.
Oh, well, just, you know, if you can't find it, then
but I think I am on the Facebook group and chat.
Yeah, so contact Karen on there and she's going to get something going. I don't know if she has it on a Dropbox or what, but also PJ does have on the Dropbox, it says trust pack. And so if you click on his trust pack, he has absolutely everything that's in his trust in that folder.
Well, I don't know how I have that trust pack, but I'm still missing an international bill of exchange. And on the treasury pack, I'm missing the BC bond order and the Social Security certificate of trust and the affidavit of life. And that's all I'm missing.
I would talk to Karen because she said she did everything exactly PJ's way and she has it all done and she has written instructions written up.
Perfect.
Plus, somebody put an international bill of exchange from PJ on the main timeline of the group, I think it was, in the last few days with the link to it because I opened it up and looked at it. So if you want to type in the search bar for the Facebook group, International Bill of Exchange, that post should pop up unless it was in the chat, but I think it was on the main part of the group. Does anyone else remember? No? I saw it recently. If you can't find it, you can contact me. My email is Holly. It's Holly3566@gmail. You can find me there and I can help you find it.
Just
looks like Ambassador just dropped it in the chat.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, yay, wonderful.
Okay.
You can download it off the chat right there.
I had a problem with my mic. This is Karen, AKA Sandy, on here.
Hey, Holly, check out that QSIP search document in the chat and look at what all information they come back with. I think this is the one we need.
Okay. Hi, Sandy. Go ahead.
I was just saying that I put that International Bill of Exchange in the chat room. So it's in there if somebody wants to go find it. It's not too far back. I do have it if you contact me back channel.
Awesome. You guys are all great. This is so fun. It's so awesome talking to all you guys.
Thanks, guys, for that. I'm still trying to understand Dropbox. I haven't figured that out very well yet, so I appreciate all y'all's help.
We know peace and there is no goodwill to try it. All Americans are like the lieutenant that broke the last week.
Is somebody speaking?
Hello, it's me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool.
You always like the hands with your arm after you phone. Peace is good. I'm white man with one.
If everyone can mute themselves out if they're not speaking, then we can hear people better. Thank you.
We can also see who wants to talk. If you're unmuted, that means you have the floor. Terry, you're unmuted. Do you have something to say?
No, I just ain't figured out how to get the mute to go on.
It's on the bottom left of your screen. It says mute. If you just put your mouse over it and click on it, it'll put a bar across it. There you go. Perfect. You got it. Have we covered QSIPs, or do we have any more QSIP questions?
I think we've covered QSIPs. A friend of mine wants to know about the rural route address and how to convert it from the zip code to the rural route.
I have those instructions. They're also on one of the videos.
Can you link the video on his videos or a different video?
It's on PJ's. Sean Haggerty does it, and he does a very thorough, complete job of it with pictures of his mailings and everything on the videos. I can't tell you offhand which video it is, but I do have that information if somebody wants to contact me.
Can you drop your email?
I was just going to say, if you want to put your email in the chat list for us, just type it into the chat. And you guys can do a screenshot of the chat anytime during the meeting. You can push your Windows button and your print screen button on your keyboard, and that will take a screenshot of your whole computer screen. That's what I do to keep track of everything going on the chat. Then I read it back after the meeting.
My email's in there.
Also on the chat, under the More button, you click on that and you can save the chat.
Awesome. Thank you for that little tidbit.
Hey guys, I'm chatting with PJ right now, and he wants the link for the meeting, so I'm going to send it to him, and hopefully he will join us. Hang on a second.
That would be awesome.
That's so funny. I was totally going to tell him a couple minutes ago, but I didn't want to bother him, so I didn't tell him. I thought, oh, you know, I don't want to make them teach a class, so I won't tell them. But
Karen, thanks for all that you've done.
You're welcome.
So has Peter done a class on the 709 and the 706s?
Have you watched all the advanced videos?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on the 709 or 706s because I've been trying to research in the 709.
Okay, yeah, I haven't gotten through all the advanced videos. I was just thinking maybe it would be in there, but hopefully he'll come on here and maybe you can ask him.
Hello, Pito. Thank you for joining us.
Yo, what you guys doing, man?
Talking about you.
Nah, don't talk about me. Talk about yourself. What you
we're
guys
trying to be as smart as you, and it's not working.
Shit, I ain't smart, man. I copied fucking G, Winston, Doug Riddle, Sean. These guys are leaders, not me. You know. I like, you know what I mean? I like to. I'm always a family guy. You know what I'm saying? I look at everybody as a family. You know. And everybody's in a different spiritual growth and a different spiritual development, and it's the biggest honor that people text me and they call me and they tell me all this and that. I never smiled so big from shit like that, you know. And the people that have stayed with me from the beginning. I'll tell you what's been going on for the last 2 weeks. So I had my interview. I'll tell you what your guys' interview is about. So what you have to know how to do is you just basically have to know how to administer your estate. It's simple. The trust that we set up takes over your estate, okay? And then what I've been showing a couple people is you get a global number, right? Once you get your global number, then you start trading your birth certificate through the DTC, and then you'll get an ABA number with a settlement bank, which could be Fidelity, Ally Bank. You set your trust up. I'm gonna have. I got permission to send out and do one more class. So I'm gonna have one more class. I'm out. Next Tuesday, I'm writing my $250,000 check to Sad and Co. They want you to have control over your trust. This is what was told to me. What they don't want is people that don't read, people that don't put their own, effort into their own life. They don't want that. They want people that read, that participate, that want to help, single women, children, stuff like that. When you start acting and, living your life as a prayer, these people that are in the DTC are going to contact you. You don't have to worry about me and getting you an interview and all that shit's on the videos. You watch me put everything in. People that are holding classes, that's awesome. But if you're going to hold classes, just make sure that you have, your proof and your evidence to help people and just give them your example and your experience. Don't tell them that this is a one size fit all. This is how you handle this, and that. And as long as you're operating for your own experience, you're always going to operate through love and light. And no, I'm not drinking. It's just been a really long, I've been up since 3. That's all. I'm not drinking. I don't drink, I smoke. Show you. Smoke. It's just been, I've been up since 3, and I had to drive out to Pittsburgh for a hockey game. But no, what you guys are working on is awesome, right? So we'll go over the discharge real quick. The first thing, always, boom, get a bill. Your trust is set up. You liquidated it. Form 966. Now I'm going to show you, when I have my class, I'm going to show everybody how to get a global number. Once you have your global number and it shows you to be trading your birth certificates active, you go from non-active to active. Once, that's the big status change that people are looking for, because everybody's looking, not get pulled over and stuff like that. The proof of life, do an okay job. They have some teeth. But when you go from a deactive to an active on a LEI number, and you're trading your birth certificates globally, then you can always go back and hit everybody for state embezzlement and everything else. But before that, the common law copyright always stands its ground. Always. Your foundation is always 9A, accept everything. Matthew 24, blah, blah, blah. You accept everything on a conditional acceptance. Your conditional acceptance is UCC Article 3-501, right? All presentments. That's number 1, okay? For everything, for your discharge, for your set-offs, is always a conditional acceptance. UCC 3-501. We always accept your, we always accept. We never, I don't owe shit, no. If they're sending you a bill, then you're not set up right. You should have no bills, okay? There should be no bills, nothing coming to your house, okay? Step 1, 1099A. That's always step 1. That's your acceptance. Acceptance and your 1099A is your most important things. That's your foundation on everything, because you've accepted it. You haven't disagreed. You haven't argued anything. So, okay, I owe some shit. Cool, whatever. Well, show me your claim first. As long as you can show that as long as you can prove that you have a claim, I'm more than willing to pay whatever you want. So bring an argument or a defense to court is always a trap. Going to court, trap. Remember, set up your trust. Put your security interest in. The importance of your agriculture lien on your birth certificate, not the all cap name. Go back and listen to Gene Keating on agriculture liens. He gives you the website for the statutes that you need to place an agricultural lien on your birth certificate, because what agricultural liens do is it secures the payment for the obligation. So what that means is if the United States is obligated to pay under Title 31 USC Section 3123, and your obligation is explained in Title 18 USC Section 8. Once you place stamps on your paperwork, whether it's a negative check or it's your presentment, the United States is obligated to discharge that. But until you are in control of your estate and you have liquidated your estate, or the crown, straw man bullshit, yada yada, because how you're going to operate is going to be your estate EIN, which is going to be a 98 number with your death certificate. That's going to be your main number. Then you're going to have a 98 trust number. And then you're going to have your foundation, which is an 82. So all your 82 domestics, once you get to that point and you have your trust set up and you've liquidated it and you contacted me, I will then teach you how to accept your birth certificate for value the correct way. And as if some of you see my birth certificate, you accept it to the estate for a special deposit to your foreign grantor estate or your foreign grantor trust. And what you're going to need at the final stage is a trust deed. And they also call it a discretionary trust. Now, I can explain a lot of shit to you guys, but the paperwork that I had to sign for a non-disclosure agreement is 5 pages of DTC and DTCC paperwork. And the reason why I can only have one more class is because I've explained everything to a T and all the accounts that you need and the procedure and form which is required by one to enter heaven. The reason why I can't have any more classes is because I displayed all the information which is needed to free thyself. And that's not to put anybody down or to say, I don't charge for classes, homie. That's where you get stuck. I mean, you know what I mean? Because I have students like Mark Mertz that shout me out, but still charge for classes and yada yada. And I get calls, and you gotta understand something. I'm a humble guy, and I haven't explained to you who I am yet. And I'll do that next in my last class. But we'll go from here. Your first step, discharge. Ready? You got control of your estate. Trust is set up. LEI number. You're operating. You have to exhaust your private administrative procedures. So the way that they're going to test you is they'll send you a couple bills maybe. You always conditionally accept everything under UCC 3-501, UCC 3-419, Public Law 73-10, House Joint Resolution 192. That's always going to be your acceptance on conditions. Then you send it back to them, you default them. Once you default them, you take it to the Secretary of State, you get a certificate. Then you petition your court in district court, Federal Rules Civil Procedure Rule, Title 28 U.S.C. Section 1333 gives federal district courts the original jurisdiction to hear all matters. So default, petition default, standard form 95. If you're in a foreclosure or a mortgage discharge and you want to prove that you're the original security issuer, then that's the whistleblower form 211. Now I can get your QSIPs through Bloomberg. It's a 155 for a QSIP. I haven't learned how to liquidate the QSIP yet, so I don't teach it. I haven't done it yet, but I can get your QSIP. Negative check. Your negative check is your debits. Okay. The positive that essentially was your credits. Okay. If you read redemption, 95 pages of redemption, there will be a diagram where they send a negative electric sign around the atom. That's your negative check. That does its full circle. So your negative checks and your birth. All right. I'm going to go through the list. Here it goes. Write this shit down. I'm not going to stop it. I'm ending it. I'm getting the fuck off. Okay, I gotta go. Discharge, right? If you don't have your LEI, you got your trust set up, I'm going to tell you, you're right. The only remedy is a tort claim when you don't have full control of your estate, it's a tort claim. Once you have full control of your estate, you're not worried about none of this shit. So if you don't have control of your estate, which means you don't have an LEI number and you bought your QSIPs and you're trading it with a DTC, that means you don't administer shit. And that was a hard truth that I had to deal with from my mentor, telling me, like, it's cool to have the trust set up. That's your foundation. But until you're trading your birth certificate globally and you have your LEI number, you're not administering shit. And your only remedy is your tort claim. Okay? So your foundation for your tort claim is, boom, default. Everybody knows that 3-step administrative process. You know, notice of set-off, notice of tender, conditional acceptance. You could do your negative averment under negative averment under Federal Rules of Civil Procedure Rule 9A can go with your conditional acceptance. I'll have Laurel send out all my examples. After 7 days, business days, send out your opportunity to cure and default, because Sean told everybody, in accordance to the Unicidral Convention, after 10 days, if they don't respond, you can fully default them. So after 10 days, fully default, okay? So you've accepted. Now you've built your foundation. You've done your 3-step administrative procedure, and now you've defaulted them. That's your foundation. Now you can move forward with everything that you want to do. If you want to lien, levy, take judges to Chapter 7 liquidation, you could take their bank accounts, levy them. There's the same procedure for liens and your private administrative procedure. They're they coincide. They commingle. It's the same thing. Notice of lien, notice to sue, default. Those are all your private administrative procedures. It's all the same shit. Okay? So if you want to lien somebody, your agriculture lien is your highest lien, because that secures payment for the performance of the obligation. Gene Keating. Default certificate of non-response goes to your Secretary of State. She'll authenticate your package, what you sent out, UCC1 security agreement, executor letter, forgiveness letter, 1099A, common law copyright, fee schedule, OID letter, 706, 709, 1041. Then you take a petition into your district court, which is your federal court, and get a summary judgment on your default. And now there's 2 things you have. You have 2 options once you have a summary judgment. You can QSIP up and sell that judgment to a Series 7 broker, a DTC participant, or you can keep moving forward and go into a tort claim, which is your standard Form 95. Standard Form 95, 211. I'll send out the names, the administrative names that you're going to contact there, and I'll show you my status. My shit's about to be done. 280 million. And I better have my check crispy. That's your foundation. Trust. Liquidate your trust. Any kind of debt that you have, sin, you do your private administrative procedure and default them. This is the step. This is how easy this shit is. Set your trust up. Set it out. Any kind of debt, default them. Your 966 IRS form 966 is what your liquidation is. Make an appointment with your IRS and liquidate it. So any kind of tickets you get after your spiritual growth, you send that form 966 in with your security agreement, UCC1, LEI number, executive letter and forgiveness letter, common law copyright, fee schedule. Charge the motherfucker. Laurel is going to send out a commercial tort claim. We have all this shit in right now. I'm at the point where I'm going to be able to come around the country and dish out, at least $500,000 to all my students, and while they finish up, and then build their company as what they want to do with their heart. So that's what I've been being trained on, because not everybody. This is your motivation speech right now. They say not everybody can come where I'm going. All right, so they say they can't. Not everybody can come where I'm going. So that's your motivational speak right there, to say, yo, fuck that motherfucker. I'll be kick that door in, wave the 4-4, whatever the fuck I got to do. And that's how your attitude has to be. It's all real. You create your own destiny, period. That's the spiritual growth. And once you're spiritually grown, there's nothing they can do to stop you. You know what I mean? Here's my securities. Here, da da da. Here's the payment. Here's the offer. Now, what the fuck you gonna do? And everybody that talks to me, I try to explain to them that, warrants and shit like that. I dare somebody to come to my doorstep. I told the one class, last class or whatever, they'll leave with their fucking head in their lap. Come to my house. But it's all love and light. And you guys are all great, great people. And the foundation that we're building here, you guys will be remembered for the rest of your lives and for eons, eons, eons. As long as you stand on your square and stay true to who you are. Doesn't matter what I do. Doesn't matter what Sean does. Doesn't matter what Holly does. Doesn't matter what Gene does. Doesn't matter what Brian does. It doesn't matter what anybody else does in your life. All that matters is you take your experience, and you take the love, and you take the light and the experience of it, and you share it with unexperienced people. That's the trick to everything. Because if there was a way to set up the business of spiritual growth and set up, we're going to set up your truck, I would be done already. I'd be worldwide. It would already been set up. You know what I'm saying? So become yourself, love yourself, finish your work. Then once your work is finished, what you want to do with your heart and the way that you want to help everybody, that's how you're going to be able to help everybody. Because I was in the same position that you were. I didn't care about the money. I needed the money to help people because I know other people weren't spiritually developed enough to understand the help that I'm giving them. So, $500,000 investment, because you guys are investors, like Shark Tank. Okay. I got the feds listening to me. I'm not going to turn my phone, but they're next to me right now. Follow your heart, Mudgy. You know what I'm saying? All this shit is real because you have the Unisexual Convention. You have Title 31 USC Section 5312 that makes you a private banker. You know what I mean? All you have to do is find the right codes that apply to you, and that's your foundation, and put, your government that you own, that you control, in place. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to do it violently. You can just simply say, hey, I know what the fuck is going on, homie. I know where your bonds are. I can make them mine if I want to, The greatest thing that you can get back to the world is education. That's where everybody suffers. That's where all suffering comes from, is lack of education. That's where all wars come from. This is, they take uneducated motherfuckers and recruit them. I've done it my whole life, you know what I'm saying? I know how to take broke motherfuckers and turn them into sons. I know how to use their heart against them. It's the same thing that these occult people used against you. They took your heart and they took nature and they put a story of human sacrifice and the storyline of nature, and that's where you get all this blood libel from and shit like that. That's what I'm against. I'm against Jesuits and blood libel. You know what I'm saying? All this money is worthless. I'm pissing Jesuits off on purpose.
Okay, so there we have it.
I'm sure he'll be back in a second.
I think he's done.
I'm slightly unclear on exactly the steps of liquidating my estate after I get my trust pack in. I know there's a form, he just said, with the IRS. 966, make an appointment with the IRS, he said.
That's on one of the videos also. And he's right. He's willing to help anyone that finishes their pack and gets their green card back in doing the process beyond that. And he said that again tonight. So that's very encouraging.
Mm-hmm. So is it in one of the advanced class videos or one of the first 13? I haven't had time to get through the first 13 yet, so.
I wish I could tell you.
I know, you know, if any, this is one thing we could really use in the group. If anybody has the energy, I know we're all working on our private stuff, so it's hard to have time to do anything extra. But if anybody could just write down in a table of contents of what is gone over in the videos, that's the reason why sometimes I don't know stuff, because I've got, 50 hours of videos to look through, and PJ always says, go look at my videos. It's in my videos. I'm like, okay, which one, where? Can you save me like a week? So I just have to.
Yeah.
And if there is some kind of like, step-by-step instruction, that would be really helpful, because, obviously he jumps around a lot too. So.
I just spent time just literally transcribing. I'm through number 7, and I have a few of the other ones done, like military one, and here and there a couple other ones done. And I'm putting them, my husband is helping putting them in a jacket in our computer, so that you think of something you want to look up, you just put that word in the search and it tells you where in all of that transcribing, which tells you what video and at what time to go find that information. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but it's the only way, we can find stuff. I think that's, the easiest way, because PJ jumps around a lot in the videos.
Mm-hmm. Is that something that you could share, like, to a Google Drive that we could all access, or throw in a Dropbox somewhere, or something that we could put in our computers, and then we can try to help out and add to that what we can do or anything? Or?
Well, sure, I can give you what we have done thus far, but I really would like someone to contribute and help with this.
Absolutely. That's what I said. If someone else can add to it and keep adding, if they listen to a different video and they can write down and we can see your system, then we could continue with your system and hand something else in to you back, and you could add to it.
Yeah, that would be great if
I know.
Do that.
There's so many videos, so that would be really cool.
Yeah, it would be, because then we would have a search.
Yeah, I'd love to see. Yeah, I'd love to see your system, and then I can copy it and then we could talk back and forth about how I could add back to you if I send it in a separate file and then you add it, or if we just can edit that and add our own files and keep adding to it and put it on a Dropbox or something. I don't know. You can do Google Drives that are editable. You can do a Google Drive folder and you can put can edit, then other people can add to it.
Do we have room in the main Dropbox one for the Facebook group? Could she put it there, Marie?
Of course. Yes.
That's
okay, awesome.
Hey, I don't mind volunteering tomorrow, and I'll watch one of the videos and take notes if y'all want to tell me which ones y'all need help with.
Haven't done 8 and 9 yet.
Okay, I'll listen to 8 tomorrow and I'll take notes. And is your email here in the chat or?
Yes.
Okay, I'll watch 8 tomorrow and I'll take notes and then I'll send it to you on your email.
Excellent.
Okay, thanks.
Do we have a form list? All the forms needed?
There's one in the Dropbox. I can't remember what the title of it is. It's like SPC master process or something like that.
Thank you.
That's an old list and it's not complete. I have a table of contents of everything that goes in the treasury pack now.
Okay. Yeah, if we could update that in the Dropbox.
Awesome. What else does anybody want to cover?
I'd be curious to know how many in here have actually mailed in a treasury pack, just out of curiosity.
I have.
I have also.
I haven't.
I have mine ready to be notarized.
I have several.
When we get to a point, how do we get a surety for the bonds?
Laurel gave me the name of someone to use. I don't have permission from him, but if you contact me, I will ask him, and he is in a group of people that can be sureties, and I can ask him permission for you.
Thank you.
So I just recently got my birth certificates back from the federal government for being authenticated. So my next step now would be to get the treasury pack sent in. Is that correct?
That is correct. And the best way to do that, David, is to start by watching the first 5 videos. And if you have questions, let me know.
Does anyone have any information on the death certificate or that affidavit of death that everybody's talking about?
That's done later. I don't have very much on that. I have an actual document that PJ gave us on one of the videos.
Okay, I'd be interested in that. I don't know if you guys, I'm sort of new here on the calls and things like that, but I have an international group. We've been doing these processes for years for foreign people without a social security and foreign birth certificates. So our processes are quite different, and I don't want to veer off from PJ's focus here. But if anybody needs something like, for instance, a very simple trust to open up a bank account, I can share those. That way we don't get too off the mark.
Did you put your email on earlier on the chat, Ambassador?
No, I think he put the other guy's email in there.
Put your contact information too on there, Ambassador. That'd be great because I might have some questions to ask you after.
Okay.
Ambassador, I would like to know, there's a couple forms that we're going to need foreign addresses on. Is there someone in your group that would be willing to let us use your addresses?
Yeah, we were doing that quite a while ago. So it is, yeah, it's kind of necessary from the standpoint that, I don't know if any of you guys gotten your 98 letters back recently, but there's a code in there for reference. It wasn't on there maybe 3-5 years ago, 10 years ago when we started. So it wasn't that important. People were getting their 98s, you know, by just making up a foreign address, but they wouldn't get their letter. And now it's sort of important for you to actually get your letter because it has your code for you to do other filings in the future. So it's important. I'll ask though, there are several addresses. Again, I'm down by the Caribbean, and everybody's getting their 98s as well with a nice foreign accent. So it works real well. But I'll try to get at least 3 to 5 addresses that people can use.
That would be awesome.
So I have a question. You can get a 98 number without having to put in a death certificate to get it? You don't have to be dead?
No, you just have to be foreign. Remember does everybody know what the 98 designation, the -6 is?
I would like a recap on that. PJ talks constantly about having to have a 98 number as one of the 3 numbers you need to have, and I don't have a 98 one yet. I have 2 82s or 83s, but I don't have a 98 one yet. So what's involved in that?
So the 98 EIN is special because, well, one, for the most part, you have to fax it in, call it in, and you have to sort of prove to them that you're foreign. The 98 is foreign. The -6 is tax exempt. Now, a lot of people, like some of the gurus, were coming out with 98-0, 98-1, and those are okay, but you need to have an approved 8832 in order to make it tax exempt and for it not to be construed as a corporation. Because that's what will happen if you get a 98 and let it sit. You might get a letter from the IRS asking you to fill out W-4s and 945s as a corporation. They just sort of assume if you don't move on it, you don't do an 8832, that it's going to be taxed as a corporation. So the 98, it just implies that you're foreign, and that's what the verbiage is. We have several formats because they're different. The first couple of 98s that I got was obviously the first, it was a foreign entity. And what you do is with that same 98, which what you're trying to do is, you guys that are in the US, you need to get your Social Security because that's your token in your country. You have to kill it with the estate, but it's a domestic estate since it's tied to your Social Security. The idea is to have a foreign estate like what PJ talks about. So once you get your 98, then you can apply with that 98 in your online system for a foreign estate. So it's sort of, it comes off of that 98. Once you get that first one, it's easier to get the rest of them. So the first one is really, I would recommend people fax it in. If you don't have a nice foreign accent, fax it in and then call them back in 4 days to ratify what you've written in there. It's sort of the easiest way. But if you do know what you're talking about, you know that you're foreign, you've got sort of the story. You know, you're in the country for a short period of time. You're a sojourner, you're from this other country, you've got your address, but you have a temporary mailing address, etc. You should be able to wing it, because I know a lot of our people are Canadian, and they're pretty good about listening or hearing foreign accents. So that's really all that it is. But the 98, it shouldn't be that difficult. We just had 2 yesterday of 2 gals that are just starting. I mean, you guys are way advanced compared to them. And all the courses that I give, they're all in Spanish. So if I ever share some documents, it'll have some Spanish jargon in there. But yeah, the 98 is foreign, and the -6 is really what you're looking for it to be tax exempt from the get-go.
Also, if you ever do a 98, and I understand what he's saying. Listen, if you know who you are, you ain't got to do no foreign accents or anything. Okay, you just got to know what you're talking about. 1, 2, they're going to try and trick you. And guess what? I had an opportunity when I first did mine. I got several 98s. and I did my 98. And when the first or second one I did, it was just like I kind of got confused, and then they was trying to switch me over here and trying to do this and do that. Guess what? There's one real easy solution. Click, hang up. Get yourself together, take a breath. You know what I'm saying? Once you understand what they're asking, if you're not sure, go and do the research, you know what I mean? And then call them back, all right? And so the other thing is that if you do your 98s, and I remember, once again, one of the first two I did, and I set mine up for date of birth. And so IRS sent me back a letter, said, yeah, you haven't filed taxes since 19, blah, 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 blah. And so we need you to file these taxes for these years. And I said, oh, snap, what the heck did I do? And I went back and I listened to Jonah Bay, because that's when Jonah had first started talking about the 98. And he says, if they send you that letter, you just write a nice little letter, say, hey, you know, nah, I don't have to file foreign, my jurisdiction, my status or whatever is foreign, and I have no income within the United States, and send that back. I did that, have not heard a peep from them about anything. So, you know, that's one of the key things is that making sure that you know exactly what you're talking about. And like I said, if you get confused, if you're not sure or whatever, just hang up. Because guess what? Do they know who you are, really? You know, I could say anything over the phone. I could say anything through the mail. You know what I'm saying? They have no first-hand knowledge unless they got some way they can look through the TV or through the cameras or whatever and see exactly who I am, or have a trace on my phone or whatever. But that's the simplest way to do it for us with the 9/8. And I don't know, Ambassador, how long ago. I mean, I know you're doing yours more recently. It's been a while since I did a 9/8. The addresses that I used, I have some people who are in Israel, and I kind of used theirs, you know. So, but I'm actually going to have to do a couple 9/8s when I redo this process. So,
Yeah, things have changed. Definitely, things have changed since my first 98 was in 2007, so it's been 12 years, and since then I've had probably a couple of hundred in just our circle. But you used to be coming out of Philadelphia. Now they're out of Ohio, at I believe Cincinnati, and they're not as easy to get, at least for us. After we've gotten maybe 20, they sort of cancel our fax, because we always do everything by fax. But definitely you need to know. I've seen plenty of 98s of domiciled people within the U.S., and it's people who just call for 5 minutes and get it. It's not a big deal. But it is important that you establish a foreign address.
Yes.
And, right, whether it's a domiciled foreign address within the U.S., that works too, rural route, or if it's an actual out of the country, which is much easier. But yeah, sooner or later you just call and hang up and call and hang up, and you'll get it.
Yeah, and that's key, and that's the thing, you know, that you have at least have the foreign address. You know what I'm saying? And the other thing is the key. The key point is you have to know what you're doing and what you're talking about. If you don't, you know, you can get confused, and you can and really end up causing more harm than hurt. And I think the other reason why it's getting harder is because that is now becoming a process, and so many people are now applying for 9/8 numbers. You know, when I did mine, oh man, 2014, somewhere around then, you know, it wasn't as pertinent as it is now. So, you know, they're beginning to see people are figuring this stuff out. So they're now, you know, making it harder, you know. So.
Can I ask you a quick question about that?
I didn't hear what you said, Holly.
Can I ask you a quick question about that, you guys? Gina and Ambassador. Okay. If I want to be foreign and have a foreign status, why does my foreign grantors trust that I set up have an 83 number? And what do I want that? What am I going to use that 98 number for when my trust has an 83 number? My state is an 83 number. Why doesn't my foreign grantors trust come with a 98 number instead of an 83 number? And why? What am I going to use that 98 number for? Do I put that on form?
That's not your foreign one. That's your domestic one.
Yeah. Yeah. If you got an 83, that's domestic all day long, and apparently you told them something that caused them to put it in.
Well, I didn't do it. I paid my teacher to do it, and she calls it a foreign grantors trust, and she's always called it that.
That's not true.
Yeah.
The only foreign grantors trust is a 98.
Yeah.
It's probably a trust. It's definitely a trust, and it's probably a grantor's trust, but it's not a foreign grantor's trust.
Wow. Oh, wait a minute. I think she doesn't call it foreign. I think she might have just said a grantor's trust, because at one time she said she could open a foreign grantor's trust for me, and she was going to do that, but then we didn't. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, now the 98 number, what do I do with that? What do I do with that after I have that? Why do I want that number? What am I doing with that?
Your 98, only thing your 98 can be is an Olden trust. You can't use your 98 in commerce. If you do, you're opening yourself up to taxes. You can't use a 98 for anything other than possibly holding a bank account or holding property. That's it. Anything outside of that, you're now going into commerce, and now you're going to get banged.
So you guys want the 98 to put on your bank account so that they're completely tax free?
Well, it would be just for holding trusts. You're holding funds for the trust, but you can't use that like a checking account or anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I was just wondering because PJ just asked me repeatedly, do you got your 83 number, you got your other number, and you got your 98 number? And I'm like, no, I don't have the 98, but I got the other two. Why does he keep asking me that? What am I supposed to do with that 98? What's that
The 83 actually goes into the 98. The 98 is your foreign status, but you will be using your 93 as you were now using an SS as you were before. That's the one you're actually going to be working in your commerce with, but your 98 is your holding
trust. It's just holding, but it's foreign. It's foreign to the United States. And see, here's the thing. Like, okay, I'm working on some stuff right now, and one of the things I'm doing is, we've been talking about some other groups, is a counter deed. And so basically I'm working on counter deeds. And one of the things, we're into real estate, and we had a person we're in the process of trying to evict. And so basically we filed an eviction back in February, and they were never served. And I told my wife to call them, couldn't find out what the heck was going on. Why was it taking so long? You know, we didn't know if the people had moved or whatever, so they couldn't serve them or whatever. But my wife called the courthouse, and because of the way we had the address, the court says we don't have jurisdiction over this address, and the reason why is because the way we listed the address has our tribe as the county, and so basically, in order for us to get them served, we had to remove that aspect of the address so that it would be an address that was within the county. And the thing of it is this: we're in two different jurisdictions. As an Indian tribe, we're a sovereign nation unto ourselves, whereas the county, they're sovereign and on their end of their jurisdiction. But because we're doing business with one of the state's people, you know what I mean, we're relinquishing jurisdiction to them to serve them, more so really just to put them out. When we eventually go to court, we're going to inform the court, like, listen, the only thing that's before this court is, you know, you need to let these folks know they haven't paid their rent, they need to go, and to go ahead and evict them. But you can't, our tribe is not giving up jurisdiction to you. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things, and I think the ambassador said that as well, understanding how to set up your foreign, even if you're on this land, is key.
Yeah.
And it goes into knowing and understanding. You got to know and understand and be able to stand on that, and not be fumbling and bumbling and questioning. No, we're this or I'm that. This is my address. This, that, the other, and explain exactly what you're doing. Remember, these people are your servants, so you're telling them, listen, this is what I need you to do. I'm opening up a foreign renters trust. I need a 98 number, and you got to have your ducks in a row. And when you do that, it goes through like water. It flows like water.
So you're opening up foreign grantors trusts, and then are you operating with, you can just put money in those, but you can't, you said you can do a bank account, so you could do a trust bank account with a 98 number.
Right, but you would be doing that as just holding trust property. I think Sandy said earlier that you also would put your 83 in there, and here's the thing, okay?
I did that with mine.
All right, and I know
I have
PJ
open already. I did with my 83 number.
Okay, and I know PJ said 83. Don't get hung. All right, the only number that you really need to be concerned about is 98. Okay, only the 98 is a 98. You're not going to get any other freaking number besides a 98 for a foreign grantors trust. Now, with an estate or trust or any other estate trust or whatever, you can get an 83, 82, a 45, I think a 46, I believe. You can get other numbers, okay, but they all operate similar, okay. Only a 98 is going to be a 98. If you got something else and you're talking about your foreign, if you got a 66 or some crap like that, you're not a foreign trust. You're not foreign, period.
Cool. Well, you gotta know what you're doing when you get 98 number. You gotta know what you're doing with it when you get it too.
So I can sort of show what we're doing internationally with a 98. Since most of our people don't have Social Security, the 98 is used as a global identifier for our people. And so right now I'm right at the border. So our people here at the north end in Baja, they actually get their 98, their Mexican passport, and walk into the bank as individuals. The 98 itself is for a trust. Now I'm telling them that it's the 98-6 for a foreign grantors trust. They're using it as individual, but I still recommend that they have an actual trust, even if it's a simple trust. If it's an inter vivos trust, but that it be foreign. And I understand that PJ is calling the entire treasury package with the other documentation a trust in itself, which it is. But if you have an actual trust that you walk into the bank with that 98, that is what they're looking for as far as that 98 goes. Now, fiscally, for the few people that we deal with inside of the US, we have them connect all their accounts using the 8832. You should have an 8832 where at the top it has your social and your estate, which those are linked. And at the bottom, the beneficial owner should be that 98. That's one of the ways, and the primary way to connect those accounts. The secondary way to connect it is through a 1099 CAP. The CAP is a change in corporate structure, and it's basically where the 98 is going to now control your estate. That's how they're connected together as far as the tax-wise goes. Obviously, you can put in all your numbers in your security agreement, Schedule A, and in under your trust as well. But as far as what you're going to do with the IRS, then they do need to see those accounts connected all together. And so there's a couple of other ways, but those are the basic ways that the IRS will see that 98 as a controlling agent for that estate. Now, with that being said, I, as a Mexican, got the 98, and then I went back and didn't go into the domestic online system, but I went back and got a 98-6 for my estate. And I think that's what he's talking about as a foreign estate. With the 98 doesn't come back and go into the online system and get a secondary number. In other words, an 80-something, a 40-something, or some of the other series. But it goes back and gets yet another 98, but with the word estate behind it, and connects those two. So the idea that I think that he's got right is that he's connecting all his accounts. He's going into the Treasury Direct, connecting all the accounts. He's going into Fidelity, connecting all the accounts. Now that what you need to do is understand that the IRS, the tax level, those also need to be connected. And that's one thing when we were back in the rebellious stages, you know, the sovereign movements back at that time, is we didn't want anything to do with the numbers. We didn't want the system to know about the social, or the system to know about the 98, and that they had to be separate. No, they actually need to be together. But you need to let the system know that the 98 is the owner, or beneficial owner, or however you want to structure it, but they do need to be connected. So that's an important point.
And you also, you can have, and I might be saying this backwards, a trust acting as an estate, or an estate acting as a trust as well.
Yeah, depends on how you want to handle yourself. And like you said, commerce. We do use our trust in commerce. Our trust is our primary insular vehicle to act in commerce as foreigners. That might not behoove you being in the country to operate that way. And our estate is within the trust.
May I? Hello?
Yes.
I was informed that I could file with the IRS a 7004 to get the 98 EIN number. And he also referred the 98 EIN number as a foreign grantor's trust. Has anybody ever heard of that? A 7004?
No, I haven't.
I actually put it on Google, and it came up as to file an extension on your taxes.
Yeah, that's what I'm showing too. Business income tax information and other returns. I don't know why they would tell you that. Only way I know you can get a 98 is by SS4, and you can either fax it in or call it in, and that's what I was. You know,
I'm trying to set my significant other, including regular retire, and right now I only have an 82 EIN number for him.
Yeah, one of the things you got to do your due diligence. I mean, you know, you'll have people to come up here and tell you can do this or you can do that, and if they have not done the process themselves, they have not been qualified. You need to take it with a grain of salt and do your own due diligence, because the end result is, you know, I had somebody tell me something about a Form 56. And, you know, because I was under the gun on a case, I ended up filing these Form 56s in against 2 judges and a DA. And my end result was I got the case squashed, but I got the traffic case squashed, but I picked up 6 felonies.
No, that's sad.
Whoa.
Well, and the thing of it is this, I mean, the felonies are bullshit. It was funny because I got sentenced to 6 months for the traffic violations. I ended up getting arrested in jail while I was serving the 6 months for the 6 felonies when my wife brought the paperwork to the jail to try to get the traffic case squashed. But that was back in 2014. So I haven't been arraigned or I haven't been anything. And at this point, it's almost 5 years, which is past the, it's 4 years of statute limitations on this, but we're coming up on 5 years. But the point of it is this, because of that, you know, it made me slow down and it made me do my own due diligence and understanding that if I can emphasize anything to anybody, you need to understand what the hell you're doing, because if you don't, you know, you can get burnt. And this is some real stuff. This is serious stuff. I take it very serious. And to the young lady who was talking about the 7004, you know, I call bullshit, you know, SS4, and understand what you're doing. If you don't understand what you're doing, you know, you need to either get with somebody who does, but anybody who's telling you something that's super, super different than what the normal standard of doing things is, you know, you need to take that with a grain of salt. And I say that seriously, because, you know, this is serious. When you start monkeying with their processes and stuff like that, and you don't do it right, you know, you can get hurt. You can get harmed.
So did you use GSA form on that case?
I did not do the GSA form. Basically, I haven't done anything because part of the conditions of my bail is that I can't file any government forms against any government employees, or they can immediately arrest me.
Yeah, that's what happened to some friends of ours in Colorado. They were with that, what do they call that, grand jury thing, and they all got indicted, arrested for big years and going after officials. That's what really gets you in the hot water. But there's no reason you can't do GSA forms to get the points out and basically buy that case.
I'd be interested in talking to you about that off call.
Sure. Yeah, I don't want to go into a bunch of other stuff. It's not PJ, you know, just to get people all off track.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. The only reason I brought up what I brought up was for the young lady to let her know, you know, when somebody's telling you to do something that's way far left of what the normal process is, you need to be extremely cautious, because those are the end results that can occur.
Yeah, of course.
You know.
Yeah, one of the litmus tests that we have is that we're constantly crossing international borders. I mean, if there's one small thing that's out of order, that you can get picked up right away, right at through Homeland Security. So our processes have gone through those tests at least. No, you know, the old no news is good news, and you know, a few of us have gone to international do not detain, but some of us haven't. They've done the processes, so we haven't had any backlash from the government. We always keep it in our paperwork that we're non-adverse, non-belligerent, non-combatant. But yeah, the GSA forms are definitely a good way to get some of that stuff off of as far as the court stuff goes. But you do need to be a secured party creditor and need to get the birth certificate done. And one thing that most people don't do is they don't expatriate out of the democracy and into the republic.
Right. Well, most of my paperwork is done. You know, for me, I'm kind of special. I have 2 of everything, and one of the things that I'm really curious, and I'm sorry that PJ dropped off, and maybe I'll just call him and ask him about this, but you know, because I was adopted, and so I also have a decree, an adoption decree. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if I needed to go ahead and get that authenticated. And
yeah, I can definitely see with that, because I've got 3 to 5 of those entities between witness protection program and having to change documents and things like that. I definitely have experience with that.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll definitely hit you up. I think you posted your email up here somewhere. Yep, I see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Give me a ring.
Yeah, definitely do that. And yeah, it like I said, it's important. And just to go back to that situation, Marcelli was and he robbed a Waffle House of $323, and basically he ended up doing 10 years Fed time. In fact, he's still in jail. He's doing 10 years for sticking up a Waffle House for $323. And here I had IRS forms, which were actually federal, and the feds wouldn't even touch it. So, it's anyway, when you're doing any process, and especially using any of their forms, you got to be extremely careful and know what you're doing, because somebody, I don't see what that 7004 form has to do with a 98 number at all. I just don't see it. I don't even see a 98 on there. I see a 706. But
I was just going to bring that up. Speaking of 7 forms, I was going to say, after this subject, I think we should return back to someone's question from the very beginning, where they said they want to know more about the 706 and the 9 forms. They're confused on those. There's been someone on the chat that's been trying to figure those out for a while. And David had something about $11 million, but I don't see him here tonight. He was going to be here and discuss what he had been doing.
I am here. I'm the one that was asking about 706 and 709. On the 709 form, it talks about the 11.4 million exclusion and a 4.4 million credit. And I don't know how those are to be applied. From what I understand, everything on the W-4, when we fill out the W-4 as for our employment, it's all voluntary. So the way I see it is it's all a gift. If I can claim those as a gift to the IRS because it's voluntary, I should be able to collect the credit from that 709 form. And I think it's a 4.4 million. Because I'm not sure exactly what the exclusion is.
Yeah, I wanted to cover that tonight and see what
But
is
you
on
can't
that.
do that until you open your account. That's why you have to get your pack in first.
Yeah, ditto. I do that. I sent Marie some information on the WOOFIT stuff. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the WOOFIT accounts, and there's a little bit of information on what that is, but the 706 and 709, at least from the old Gene Keating stuff, is specifically for estates and to a minor degree trusts. And you should have at least your estate set up or some kind of a trust to be able to do those forms. Which brings me to another issue. If you guys all did your W-8s, right? With your 98 and or with your estate, you can actually have 2 W-8s. If you have a foreign estate, or if you have a regular estate and a 98, there's 2 places on the bottom for those identifiers, as you can have them as post-registered account, the registered mail sticker of your treasury and your 98. And at the bottom on the instructions, very few people read what the instructions are. It'll tell you as a foreigner, as a bona fide foreigner, what tax form you're supposed to be using. And it's not a 1041.
So let's say you do have your trust pack in, because some of us do.
Right.
So David was talking about what he had said. Does that sound like a sound theory? And could he do that as soon as, do you have your trust pack in, David?
No, I just barely got my birth certificate back from being authenticated from Virginia.
Let's just say he does. Let's just say he has it in. Does that sound like a sound theory?
Oh, of course. I mean, those are, we haven't done any of the 706, 709 forms. We're still working on some of the other IRS stuff, which is mainly the 1099 AOIDs and DIVs and things like that. But we use a 1040 NR. That's what's indicated in that W8. If you're operating from that W8 foreign position, you should not be doing a 1041 from what we understand as a foreign position. That 1040 NR is very interesting. It doesn't have a place for an SSN, and it doesn't have a place for an EIN. It has a place for an identifier. That's it. And it's actually for estates and trusts and foreign entities. And it tells you on that W8 that you should be filing a 1040 NR. So I would definitely have people look at that because you're under a tax treaty. And that tax treaty is what allows for you to be able to operate as an estate or a trust and use those estate and trust forms.
So even though I don't have my estate and trust set up, the W-4 is still classified as a gift and estate tax. That's why I'm thinking once I do get my estate set up, okay, well, originally what I was thinking is it's a gift. It has nothing to do with being an estate or a trust. It's still a gift. And the 709 talks about gifts and estates. Why couldn't I claim the W-4 and everything I make with my W-2s as a gift to the IRS because it's allegedly voluntary?
Are you a U.S.
See what I'm saying?
David,
Yeah,
you
still
can't,
a U.S. citizen?
and you can go back so far to do that, but you have to get your PAC done first and your estate set up first before you can do that. But yes, you can do that.
Yeah, the idea there is you have to be foreign to because that's your exemption, and you'll find out once you start filing a 1040, you'll start to see that there's a tax treaty that has an exemption amount, and it's an unlimited amount actually. You can put 25 million in there if you need to. And that allows for you to get your money back from the 1099s and all those in the 706s and 709s, the generation skipping and the gift tax. But when you're deemed, if you have done the last year you've done a 1040, then you're presumed to be a U.S. citizen, and you're supposed to be paying the U.S. tax as far as they go. Remember that the 1040 is a contract. All of those forms are contracts.
So are you saying with the 1040 NR, are you saying that you file taxes or you file with the IRS and check in with them with that form?
What I actually did is I went back 4 years. See, in order for you to get the bigger monies back, like into the hundred thousands and the millions, you have to be in the accrual system. That's number one. That the tax from last year and the previous have to accrue to your present tax year. In order to do that, you have to file at least 3 years back. If you've done 1040s, you can do 1040Xs, but I recommend doing 1040 NRs because then you'll have a history, a linear history of being foreign. And that's what you want. You're establishing through whenever you've done your packages and you've expatriated, you're now foreign. You've done everything that you need to do to be able to be in that foreign position. Now your taxes have to be preferably quarterly and definitely on the accrual system. And that's what the WOOFIT is about. I think I sent Marie some information, and if you guys want that, it's quite extensive audios but it's one of the systems within the tax system to be able to draw those amounts and do it quickly. But you would have to file 3 years back so you tell the IRS that you are going to not be on the cash method, but the accrual method.
So, yeah, okay. I've talked to several private people about them and asked them, what do you do about your taxes now? And my old teacher says I need to file once per quarter, and she has a guy that she wants me to pay to do it, and so yeah, I'm like, okay, but he wants a lot of money.
No, you can do it yourself. It's not that complicated.
Yeah, he wants $750 just to file my taxes for my trust every quarter, and I'm like, what?
Oh no, you don't need that.
It's highway robbery. And then So, but you are saying that you should be filing something every quarter. You should do that 1040 NR every quarter because that keeps you from getting in trouble with the IRS and them coming back after you later saying, hey, you didn't pay taxes for 10 years, like what happened to, what's his face, Winston, whatever.
Yeah, I know
Right.
Winston, or I used to know Winston. But yeah, he got in trouble because he didn't. At the end of the day, he'd never had the status. He thought he had the status because he knew people and had all these documents, but he never changed the record. He said he did, and when I talked to him, he said he had the method to be able to reverse everything by sending everything out to Puerto Rico, to the Bureau of Internal Revenue, and it just didn't happen. It never did happen. And since he got into a lot of trouble by showing people just to do the OIDs and things like that without having the proper knowledge, well, obviously he got people in trouble, and then eventually he got in trouble. But he didn't get in trouble because of his processes. He got in trouble because of his mindset. He had the very wrong mindset, and that's why they went after him. But anyway, yeah, it's important that the tax piece be set up correctly. You can do it yourself. All you got to do, I mean, if you're going to do an annual and you're on the cash system, just divide it by 4. You can do a projection, either back. What I did is I started very small for 2014 and 15, just a regular, very small amount, and then I forwarded for the next year a higher amount, and I just kept going until I got into the millions. And that's what I just sent that out because I'm not in the country. I have to send everything out by U.S. mail. But the point is that you should file that your 1040 NRs so that you're qualified and to be able to file some of these estate and trust. That's why I say it's important for everybody to have at least a simple trust setup. And that needs to be sent to the IRS. It needs to be sent over to I think it's 1111 Constitution Avenue. And UCC Contract Trust at 1500 Pennsylvania. Those 2 addresses are what you want to communicate with for your estates and trusts. And you do have to file separately for your estate. You have to file separately for your trust. But again, it's not that complicated. If you look at that 1040 NR, it's almost easier than the 1040s because you're exempt. Now, we use something called Tax Act. And Tax Act it's one of the only ones that actually have an electronic 1040 NR filing. If you fill that out properly, right from the beginning, you use your address that's on your foreign trust. In other words, you have an actual out-of-the-country address. It won't charge you all that tax. It automatically gives you that deduction. It's like you don't owe any taxes. It's amazing.
Very good stuff. Thank you.
Sure.
So at this point right now, what should I be filing with my employer?
What was your last year's tax return? What style was it?
I didn't file one. I claimed exempt on the W-4.
So you didn't file for 2017 or 2018 any type of return?
No.
Okay, so you have some, according to the tax-wise, you have an income, right? Somehow.
Well, not by their definitions, but I am employed at Leprino Foods.
Okay, so independent contractor or employee? Employee, yeah.
I guess it'd be an employee.
Okay, so if you're an employee, they got their social, you are supposed to 1099A, and you can do a 1099 INT on those on that amount in lieu of your W-4, so that you get the money. The point is to get that money back, not so much that you're going to pay tax. People get confused between paying tax and reporting tax. They're 2 different things. We need to report. Everybody needs to report tax because tax is money. Eventually, it just depends on what side of the fence that money is. That money of account. So your W-4s is evidence of money being moved from point A to point B. It's your job to say, hey, that it moved from their point to my point, and I need to get that money back.
Okay, so are you getting money back when you're filing your taxes? When you're doing this 1040 NR, is that to get money back?
That's right. That's exactly what the W8 says.
I gotta learn that. I
Yeah,
gotta learn
yeah.
that.
That's why I'm saying, that's why I sent Maria, I shared something with her, but it was a very big drive file, and I'm sure she's just still going through it. But there was a few groups back then, including Pastor Tony King, who was going through some of the WIFIT stuff. But basically what a widely held fixed investment trust is a physical body. It's actually you. The IRS deems us a fungible agricultural commodity producer via your signature. We're live. And the type of entity is a widely held fixed investment trust. When you fill out that 1099, those 1099As and all the other ones, it should be your all caps name, 4 spaces, and WHFIT or NM, non-mortgage widely held fixed investment trust in the case of everything else but real estate. If it's a car, any movable item, anything with receipts, anything with credit, anything that moves across the banking spectrum is your all caps name, 4 spaces, NMWFIT, NMWHFIT. And if you want to do what with the W4s and things like that, you should fill out something that's called WFIT notices. It's a form you can find on the internet. If not, I'd probably dig it up. You fill that out and send that with your next tax filing, or even by itself, to the IRS. And basically what it is, it's an ecclesiastical document that lets the IRS know that you're going to be operating, you're going to be changing from the cash method to the accrual method, and you're going to be operating as a real live person, or namely a WFIT, widely held fixed investment trust. Once you start doing that for a year or two, then the system will change. They should change it automatically once they get that notice, but sometimes it takes a year or two, because they want to know if you're going to keep filing those 1040s or some allied forms without having the proper standing and the status to be able to do it. The status and the standing, it took us decades to be able to get down to only for us to figure out that it was easy. It's not that hard. And that's what I like what PJ's doing, because he's pretty much putting everything in a nutshell. It's kind of simple, but you got to change. You got to make a change within that system. When your name comes up, it has to have a different type of a status on there for you not to be assumed and presumed to be a U.S. citizen and to be a debtor. So those are the forms that you should be filing in the beginning, is your WFIT forms, and the IRS needs to get everything. There's a little bit of a discrepancy there between, do you say that the Treasury or the IRS? Well, 1500 is both. 1500 Pennsylvania is both. But I like to send stuff to 111 Constitution because that's the main office of the commissioner. The point is, everything that you do, every Treasury documentation, every trust, every estate, that needs to go, estate documentation needs to go directly to the IRS. You have to let them know that you're operating differently. And then you'll be able to get everything back. Just like they say, everything's a tax, right? Everything's cash. Everything's a gift.
What are you getting back? What are you getting back? I mean, what number? If you're not filing income because you don't have income, what do you get back?
Well, that's the point. You don't get back anything if you're not reporting anything. We got stuck on that point too.
I heard Gene Keating say this in a class.
Mm-hmm.
I heard him say that, but I don't get it yet.
Okay, so we didn't either. We're like at the same. We had the same questions. We were doing these 1099s, and the OIDs would get kicked back, and they said, "Well, we can't accept your OIDs because you haven't declared, you haven't reported enough income for it to be the same amount." I'm like, gosh, you have to keep reporting those 1099As. The more 1099As you report, and INTs, the more reporting you do, the more income, so to speak. It's not really income, but for their words, income. But what that means is the numbers that are being reported under your tax ID. So that's why I say after 1, 2, or 3 years, you're going to have a lot of 1099As. You're going to get into the millions of dollars. And I'm talking about reporting cash receipts, bank statements. There's something called a 1099K. Every single swipe you do with that card, from every single market swipe to internet, is considered a 1099K, third-party a merchant swipe. Those are also taxable. And people are afraid of that word. Taxable means that you need to report that amount. All of that will go they'll go under your tax ID number, but then it's a matter of you either owing or getting paid from it. Obviously, we want to get paid for it, right?
Yep,
Okay,
this is familiar.
right. So the 1099-NR puts you immediately under a tax treaty, and all of that you get a 100% deduction. And you can put down the amounts of the 706 and the 709s. Right now it's what, 11 million or more. But the point is, when you do your estate, you're talking about much higher numbers. So yes, sometimes things get kicked back because they'll say, well, where's it coming from? Well, the first instance that it came from was with the birth certificate, with the treasury filings, right? That's an important concept because I don't know if PJ went through that before on the calls, but your first instance of the 100 billion is a blocking of the accounts. Remember, the birth certificate has no specific intrinsic value. It's wide open. It's unlimited, how they say, right? So some of the earlier documents way back with the Roger Elvick's and the Tim Turner days, they were writing out bonds unlimited or just accepting the birth certificate for an unlimited amount. The problem with it is that how do you do accounting with it? How are you going to account for unlimited? Salud. And so the point is, with that bond that you're emitting, you're doing a mirror image of your birth certificate, and you're blocking an amount for accounting purposes. So there's a good amount there. And then from there, you should be able to draw down or write checks for all intents and purposes, but you should be able to draw instruments off of that master account. So those instruments, the more promissory notes, international bills of exchange, money orders that you write, all of those should be under a UCC 3 or a 1 if it's a new contract. Those are all taxable. Every single contract that you do with a cable company, with the electric company, that's a contract. You need to flip that contract, right? You need to grab that and then assume that they're giving you a credit or they're giving you a service, do a 1099-A, put that promissory note or money order, whatever instrument you're going to use, put it under a 3 and get that authenticated, send it to the IRS with your 1099 paperwork as a credit. That's how those numbers start to, so you've now documented everything. That's why it's important to, like, you know what they say, do your taxes, I quote.
So is that how the debt is discharged?
You're correct.
Would you do that annually or quarterly or?
Yeah, at first, like where everybody's at now, is just do one nice, annual for everything, and immediately, we're just in the first quarter of this year. You can do annual for last year, 2018, and then do the quarter for 2019. Go ahead and file a quarterly. And I believe in the 1040 NR, there's actually a space there for where it says for what period. So that's kind of cool. You can say first quarter 2019.
What's your name?
El Mago, ELMAGO. I go by Ambassador M.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much for explaining that. You've just given me the tip of the iceberg on all that, and my mind is spinning because I just can't wait to get to that. And I'm definitely going to learn it. I'm definitely going to learn it frontwards and backwards. It's going to be a while, but I'm going to learn it.
Cool.
Can I ask you a question again? My significant other is getting ready to retire. Do I take his Wisconsin trustee employment fund and put it into his, can I put it into his 82 right now?
You're talking about his trust? Is that a trust or an estate?
Actually, the 82 number is an estate or a trust EIN number. That's what it says on the paper.
I would put it into a trust because it's easier to put into a trust first. I mean, it's just a matter of setting up the trust and putting that into the Schedule A. until you actually, because the estate is harder to set up. And it's not that it's harder, it just takes more
No, I'm
documents.
talking about into a, we have to put, get him a bank account. And I want to take his employment trust fund for retirement and put it into a non-interest bearing checking account.
Sure, yes, if you have a 98, try to get the 98 and a trust for that bank account and tie that his trust fund, his retirement trust fund, and put that under that trust with that bank account, as opposed to getting a bank account for that trust fund first. Because that trust fund is obviously, he's a beneficiary. You know, he's not a grantor or the trustee.
Yeah.
So it's a little different. In other words, it's coming from somewhere else and he's getting paid for it, as opposed to you capturing the trust with a 1099-A, capturing for tax-wise purposes and putting it under your own vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to his appointment and just sat there. The tax that they take out of that retirement trust fund is incredible.
Well,
Just
exactly.
the federal tax is $7,000. I'm like, oh no, that's going to change.
Okay, so that trust fund has its own EIN? Is that what you're talking about, the 82 number?
No, that's the one I got him over the computer.
Okay. So
the trust fund is the Wisconsin state or the state of Wisconsin employee trust fund. That's what his retirement comes out of. He works for the city of Dodge for the highway department. He's been there since he was 18.
okay, so it's coming from another entity, and whatever entity that is, it probably is protected within itself from taxes, so it charges you guys the taxes, the beneficiaries. The idea there is to get the EIN for that, wherever that's coming from, the municipality or the government entity, and then to switch it, to do a 1099-A, and I believe there might actually be a 1099 BTC. It's called a bond tax credit. And basically what you do, you guys are basically receiving dividends. It's 1099 DIV. And what you need to do is they're positioning themselves as grantors and yours as receivers. It has to be the other way around. What your retired husband did is he was the grantor to that trust. So you need to let the IRS know that he is the grantor to the trust through that 98 EIN and that he is going to be tax exempt. So at least they stop taking the tax out of there. And he's getting that amount. And in order to do that, you want to capture their 98 with that trust and put it under your own trust and fill out the proper tax paperwork to flip that contract. So that's basically what it is. They have a set contract and a set trust for you guys to be the holding end and the tax obligatory end. And you don't want that.
Yeah.
Or you can do it the other way. The other way is
I have to find out their 98 EIN number or just their EIN number.
Yeah, their EIN number. It's probably not a 98. It's just it's probably under an RE, a REMIC or a REIT, real estate investment trust. It's some type of a vehicle with an investment behind it. So it probably even has a QSIP and all that kind of. That's why I say that the BTC has a QSIP number. So it's an actual, it's an investment fund that probably even has more coming to him than just the beneficiary. They're probably doing what people get from a Social Security SSI when they give you a little small amount when that account is huge, and you should be getting higher dividends.
Also, I'm sorry. Also, what you need to do, you need to do a W-9 to the Wisconsin whatever to get their EIN number. And if they don't give it to you, just do the 1099-A and just put refused.
Okay.
They refuse.
Send them a 1099. That's I mean, there's a $50 penalty, but most people they'll either give it to you over the phone or they'll send it to you if you do you don't have to do a FOIA request. Usually it's W-9 is enough for you to get that EIN number.
So I thought the 1099 was for independent contractors. I don't think I'm classified as an independent contractor at my job.
Right. Yeah, that's why I say, yeah, how are you? Are you an employee or an employer? Because you can't be an employer if you're an independent contractor and then you just take that whatever. People do that all the time, and it's okay to use that social, but you have to let the tax people know that money that you're getting, you need to get that back. Because I was going to tell the other lady is that you can either just pay the taxes, let them take it out, but then bring it back with a 1099 and either a 1099 DIV. In your case, it's probably an INT. It's interest that's accrued over the whole year that they've been taken out and using that you can claim back. Which is the safest way to go with taxes because they're holding that tax. It's provable. That's the whole thing about a W-4. It's a provable federal withholding. There's no way they can refute it.
I'm gonna jump in here for a second.
I haven't been paying into it though.
Okay. All right. So you are. This is to Ambassador. You were saying that everything needs to go to the IRS. So
Yes.
that means that if we have set up a trust, and if it's a private trust, should we just send the declaration of trust, or do we have to actually send the trust? Because somebody else was stating that it would also have to have a tax stamp or revenue stamp on it.
No, not necessarily. What type of if it's an irrevocable common law private trust, in other words, a pure trust, then you're only obligated to send that minimum paperwork. They don't need to see all the. You might want to see the Schedule A, just to let them know what type of property that's in it. Their certificate, declarations, and appointments for the trustees. That's mostly what it has. Schedule A will let them know that there's a value behind it. And that's really about it. But the minutes and all that stuff that the IRS doesn't know. And there's confusion between that because there's one set of paperwork that a bank can get. There's even banks and credit unions that will say, we don't even have to see the trust. All we have to see is the EIN number and let us know as an express trust that that exists. With the IRS, you want them give them as much information that they need, but little information too, right?
And that makes sense.
Sure.
That makes sense. I think that's where I'm at because I sent my packet to Treasury, but I didn't send it to IRS. I didn't send my UCC-1 to the IRS UCC unit, if that makes sense.
You talking about your treasury pack, you're saying, or your trust, just your trust indenture?
I sent my treasury packet with my bond to Treasury, but I also have a UCC-1 that's filed on that, and I did not send that to the IRS.
I'm sorry, let me backtrack a little bit. Since I'm sort of new to PJ's, this group here, is PJ's instructions asking you to send your UCC-1 non-UCCs to the Treasury or not?
Doesn't say anything about that.
Okay, that needs to go.
Yeah, this was a different process which I was doing.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm sort of getting at through a wider circle. But yeah, at least we were instructed 2 years ago is because we file out of Maryland primarily because that's the international venue for us.
Yes, me too. That's where mine is filed, in Maryland.
Perfect. Okay, so that when you see it's unformatted, it's a completely different type of UCC, or at least they used to be before they went electronic. And that UCC and now the non-UCC, we file a non-UCC maritime lien first, and then we file a UCC1 agriculture lien, both concurrently. The UCC information that you file, which in any state, in any jurisdiction, should be sanitized, right? For sensitive numbers, your birth certificates, socials, and all that kind of good stuff. That should not be in the public record. But that's why you're supposed to send the Treasury your security agreement and your UCC paperwork as well, unsanitized, so they can see what's under it. So I wasn't sure if in PJ's packet he's including that UCC paperwork, but yeah, whether it's your Treasury Pack UCC paperwork or whether it's an independent contract, like you've recontracted with your mortgage company or a car loan, and you've done a brand new UCC1, you want to send that to the IRS, definitely.
And I wasn't trying to cause confusion in the group. That was a question that was going on in my mind from what he said.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, same here. I don't want to get too much into that because if it's off topic and it's just sort of, you know, a matter of fact.
Well, yeah, but the main point of it was the point about sending the trust to the IRS.
Yeah.
That was the main question, but it was also a UCC1 attached with that because the way it's set up, it's in fact I'm not going to do that because I don't want to take people somewhere that we shouldn't be going.
Guys, that the Treasury actually is the IRS also.
Right.
So.
Right, but the point of it was that when I sent my pack to Treasury, there were certain things that I sent to them, and then there were certain things I didn't send to them. And now I'm listening to him, and it's kind of got some wheels going off that is causing me now to say, damn it, maybe I need to send this, and this, because all I sent was bonds to Treasury.
Yeah, it's the story of our life. This would take it's taken so long. I wouldn't, you know, I think everybody's in that same boat. And the only thing we can offer is just a little bit more years of experience of doing it, especially from a foreign position. But what was last said was that, you know, the U.S. Treasury and the IRS are the same. They are, as far as the address goes. So in other words, what we're interested here is the UCC Contract Trust Division of the IRS. It's at 1500 Pennsylvania. And so is the U.S. Treasury. It's at 1500. Here's the difference. If you're sending your Treasury pack, you're sending it to Treasury to Steve Mnuchin. And that's for one purpose. If you're doing 1099s and UCC1s, it needs to be directed to the commissioner of the IRS. That's the only difference there.
And that was my point. And that was my point. And granted, it may be a little off topic. It might not be part of what PJ is doing, but the fact of it is that it's kind of interconnected, kind of. So
it is. I think the concept, if we make these comments and we maintain them with not so much of a procedural paperwork thing, but I think the concepts are very important to put out there, and I think that's what's helpful to everybody.
Right. Well, I know for me, and I'm just going to say this to you, that I think you have explained it in a way that it's just, it flows and it makes sense. So thank you for that, because some
Thank you for listening.
yeah, you know, because some people, they speak cryptic, Coptic, and all kind of crap,
yeah.
and you know, it leaves you scratching your head, you know. And granted, I know that PJ came on and he talked about the non-disclosure agreement and this, that, and the other. And granted, I get it, but in the same essence, you know, if everybody does what PJ did and throws everything out on the table before he has to sign that thing, There's nothing the hell they could freaking do. So, you know, this group is great because now we're taking and ripping it apart, and we're getting other pieces, and we're getting other people who have other pieces that can put into the puzzle to hopefully make this thing go a lot smoother. You know, I know for me, I thought, like you said, that Winston thought he had everything together. Well, apparently I don't. So I need to go back and evaluate what the hell I did according to what you're telling me now. So in fact, I just had all that stuff in my hand today. My UCC1, my security agreement, and all of that stuff. In fact, I had my bonds in my hand. And the point of it is this: Treasury sitting there with a bond, 100,000. I sent another bond to the IRS commissioner himself, and they just took it. And okay, they took it because I didn't know what the frick I was doing. But now I'm going to turn around, and this is going to bite their ass. Hopefully, I can find my register slip and hopefully claim that, because now, if that's the case, I gave you my bond, so now you haven't returned it. So now I need to put some value behind it. You already have it, so you need to start discharging this, and this, you know, and moving like you're supposed to. And that's one of the key things that when he came on, if y'all heard what PJ said, is they want to know if you know how to handle your business, if you know how to handle your trust, if you know how to handle your estates, if you know how to do what you need to do, because you just can't come in all willy-nilly. Because if you do, remember the 6 felonies, okay? You know, you can end up in a situation like that or then some, you know, because one, I truly believe that they want us to know how to operate, but they are held to a certain silence to keep from telling us how to operate. Thus, the reason why PJ is going to end up having to have a non-disclosure agreement. Okay, and it's so funny. I was watching a show last night called The Good Fight, and they would talk about NDAs. In fact, they even had a little song about it. And basically, the woman, the boss, the head law partner's secretary, accused the dead partner of sexual harassment. So they needed her to sign a non-disclosure agreement so that she wouldn't ruin the reputation of the partner and thus the firm. So yeah, this is really great, and it's really, I'm just really grateful, you know, for the information, because it's clicking now. The wheels are turning.
Cool.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much. Can I say, I don't understand why PJ had to sign a NDA. If this is stuff that's in the private and it's legal and it's totally out there for anybody to access,
right,
what kind of stuff is he not being able to do anymore?
I was just going to comment on that. And we use that form. Do you all know what form that is that they use to shut you up?
No, he said it was 4 to 5 pages long. That's all I know.
Probably that's a private contract, but the actual contract, the basic contract that any government entity, various government entities use, is standard form 312. You can pull it down off the internet. We use that to filter people. If you're at war with your government, if you're at war with your country, if you think you own everything, etc., we won't talk to you. I'm talking about an international level. If you sign that form, what that means is you're under contract with the United States of America with your all caps name. It has to be signed through an official. And so if somebody is an agent and you have a private contract, they will not sign that form. So it's a really nice form to filter out any types of wary people that may not have the best intentions. So we use that in the inverse. But I'm just saying that if you see that form and somebody tries to shove it to you, think twice, because if you do sign it, you're not able to talk about any issues having to do with banking, private banking law, copyrighted information within the U.S. So it's really a matter of, I mean, you guys all heard that, you know, you're under a nation that appears to be a nation. It's a corporation, but it has the guns, it has the courts, it has all the force behind it. Whether it's a corporation or a nation doesn't matter. And it all has to do with, they get their jurisdiction through contracts. So you can contract with them or you can contract outside of them, which is basically what this statute staple security is. This treasury packet, UCC1 stuff, is a statute staple security where you're uncontracting out of that jurisdiction. Once you uncontract out, you get all those, the FINS numbers and the DUNS numbers and all those cool little things that you do to recontract. Now you're going to come back in with a different hat. But now you are going to sign that contract, but you're from a different position, because that all caps name is now going to be the surety within itself. The birth certificate, something else, and not the physical body. So eventually, when you're all done and you're through that door, you're not going to stop doing commerce. And that's why sometimes I disagree with people when they say the 98 you're foreign and all that kind of good stuff. Well, that's the first thing you do is separate yourself out and away from what appears to be harm's way. And you want to get rid of the name, you want to get rid of the social, all that kind of good stuff. We went through that in the 70s, believe it or not. I was a student of a gentleman named Sir Richard MacDonald way back in the 80s and 90s. And that was with the sovereign state citizen movement. That was a long time ago. And I was not where I should have been. But the point is, it's the mindset. It's the mindset that you have. And you're going to be changed. You just need to be mindful that your chip is going to have to be changed all the time. What you think is one way might change tomorrow, and then it might change the next day. To some people, the DTC is the devil. It's Satan. To other people, it's not. Just a matter of how you see things. Once you're in a foreign position, it's like everything changes completely. And I'm going to share something really quick, and it might seem off topic, but it's not, because it has to do with the administrative process. And it's the way that I explained to foreigners what that administrative process is. One of the collaborators I had, or our group had, way back in the early 2000s was with a gentleman named Franco Collins in the Ucadia movement. And we did his documentation in Spanish. But he had a good way of explaining what an indulgence was. And what an indulgence is the act through the church of the act itself. In other words, any type of a first presentment, a ticket, or that first piece of paper that comes to you. The act, as in a theater. And then you needed to know what the second part of that, the curtain closes and it opens back up. What's that second position? That second position is the confession. We call it comparecencia in Spanish. That means you show up. You show up to court, you answer the mail, but it means that you're honorably showing up, or you're placing some type of your energy towards that act, either refuting it, being the surety of it, doesn't matter. It's just you're showing up for that second phase. And the third one is when you finally confessed, is the penitence. It's the payment, right? Those are the three positions. And then the fourth, which is the effect of it, is the absolution or the redemption. Everything in commerce and in banking works that way. Reality in the 3D matrix works by indulgence. The Vatican and the extraterrestrial system that set it up works on a 3 to 4 operation system. That's what the administrative process is. The first, the second, the notice of fault, and then the third, notice of default, the notice of non-response. It's an ecclesiastical indulgence. It's the way money's made. So if you keep that in mind, what's a 1099A, what's a 1099B, what's a 1099C? What's a bid bond, what's a performance bond, and what's a payment bond? They all work in threes everywhere you go. The court process, where the judge comes in and it's one type of a court, and then he walks out and he turns it into another court. He does that 3 times. So it's interesting if you look at that concept, how it works, and you'll see that everything comes in threes. Anyway, that was my little rant.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Not by chance. It's not by chance.
So true. Thank you.
A friend
So
that
what
I
is
have,
the
I know
what
a
is
private
the
lawyer. I'll go first and you go. I know a private lawyer, and he actually says his most important piece of paper of becoming private is sending a letter to the Vatican. That's the most, he says,
Yeah.
I'm the only one doing this, and this is the most important thing you can do is tell the Vatican that you are private.
That's the last one, yeah. It's the last notice. And it has to do with Martin Luther, what he did, which is the other part of what I share with the international groups, is what a protest is and what he did to the church. And it goes way back into the pagan times in the village of posting, putting people into the post. And what the post office really is, it's a portal. It's a dimensional portal of one jurisdiction or one world in another. So it's really interesting.
Wow. Hey, can I ask one more question? I'm at work. You don't have to answer it right away. If maybe you ponder on it, what is the best way for me to get the 98 EIN number for the significant other? And I do not have a foreign address.
Or a
I
foreign
know well, out here in Wisconsin, I got an East Coast accent, yeah. But if I'm not mistaken, the guy said that they do have foreign addresses, but I didn't catch his email address before.
To mine or whose?
Oh, I don't know who was talking at the time, but they said that they were working on them. A couple of girls got their 98 EIN, and that they do have foreign addresses that could be applied that you could use.
Oh yeah, that was me. But yeah, I need to get a couple of addresses that can be used. The point is, you actually do want your letter at this point in time. You want to actually, because it does have that little code. And I'll give you a little tip. In most cases, if you don't get your letter and there really is a way where you can get a copy of that 90, even though they tell you can't. There's a special form to be able to get a copy of it. But that code, that 4-digit code that you need for getting a Treasury Direct account from that 98 is actually the first 4 letters of whatever your 98 name is. So just keep those 4, whatever letter, whether it's the last name first name first, or whatever you use. The first 4 letters are always, in most cases, going to be the code that's used for the electronic identifier, just in case you don't get it. But that's why I say it's better if you have that little letter in your hand, especially if you're going to go run and get a bank account. They want to see that letter.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, I just heard silence. I thought I was disconnected. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think my email's up there somewhere, but we'll keep in touch. And when I get a list of addresses that are good, that I can actually accept mail.
Yeah, actually, I'm not on the chat board, so I didn't get that email.
Okay, it's AMB
Ooh,
ASSA. It's Ambassador
hold
M.
on. Okay, hold on for a second. Let me just grab a piece of paper. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right, it's Ambassador AMBASSADOR M at gmx.com.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Does anyone have anything else, or are all of our brains fried?
On for 2 hours, so we're probably about done.
Yeah, my brain is fried.
Yep.
I got a lot of great stuff tonight.
So my friend keeps asking me about the 1040V. Can you say anything about the 1040V?
1040V1 goes in your pack.
Did he leave?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Say who you talking to. I just mute out.
I'm sorry.
Hey.
You're kind of running the show here. I mean,
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't.
You're the one with the knowledge so far.
I didn't want to do that at all. Well, we use a 1041.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
We use a 1041V because we're foreign and because we're under a trust. It's a voucher that author, and the reason we use 1041 because obviously we only have 98s, being all foreigners that aren't U.S. So but you guys that are pulling from your SSN and that back of the social, you'll need that 1040V as a voucher, and turn it into. Most cases you turn it into a money order when you're talking about a discharge, or you're directing it to some place. But for your treasury pact, it's just the endorsement on the back. You shouldn't have to put money order on the top or anything like that. It's just either a simple endorsement, which is what we used way back when. It's just your signature and that's it. No extra verbiage. Or you can put extra verbiage in there on the back. So we basically endorse the back of it. And for the treasury pack, you wouldn't put an amount in there. They'll fill that in.
We just wrote the banker's acceptance across the front and signed it.
Yeah, you just turn a public voucher into a private instrument, right?
Right.
You do it. I don't think there's one set way to do it because I've seen many ways on how to do it. That's just the point is to endorse it, take it. That's probably the one thing that you probably don't even need to put under a UCC3 and capture it. It's just a universal voucher / money order / instrument.
Okay, now okay. This is Laquetta that I'm talking about in the group chat here. She's saying no, the W4V. I'm sorry, not the 1040V.
Oh.
What can you tell us about the W4V?
I can't because that's more of an employee, a domestic form, so I don't have experience on that one a whole lot. I mean, I know what it is, but I don't know how to use it, or, I couldn't really tell you with enough knowledge to. Somebody probably else can, though.
Okay, this is Laquetta. Okay, you're gonna make me talk. Anyway, I was listening to one of the prior recordings, and I think it was the Sean gentleman that was on there, and he was talking about that in lieu of a W-4, he turns in a W-4V to his employer. And if you look up that form, the W-4, and compare it against the W-4V, you'll see that the W-4V does not have a perjury statement on there. And I believe it also does not ask you for a social security number, et cetera, et cetera. So it's similar, but it's different. And it doesn't really have a place for exemptions. It does ask you voluntarily how much money you want to withhold. But from what I gleaned from what Sean, I think it was Sean, I'm not sure if it was someone else that was on that video that was saying that. But if I glean the information correctly, he was talking about that it's a matter of how you're classified. Are you classified as an employee, which is what you are if you are using the W-4, versus being classified as a payee, which is what you're classified as if you use the W-4V. And so David there is really asking, does anyone have any more information about that that's on the call today? I don't really have any information about it other than what I've heard. I don't have any firsthand knowledge or experience of using it. Can you guys hear me? Am I talking to myself?
I hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
I never even heard of that form, so I got nothing to add.
It doesn't seem like many people know about this one, actually. It's from what I can tell. So you're the authority, Laquetta?
I'm not the authority. It's what I think G. Penn was talking about earlier, doing your due diligence. And, you know, I have looked it up and I did see that it is an actual form. And if you look in that IRS manual, the 6209 that does the classifications of everything, it shows up that, yes, it's a class 5 as well. And because I'd come across it before in the past, but the form itself, I was so unfamiliar with it that it looked like it was like patriotic stuff, a form that someone had put together. But no, it's an actual form that the IRS puts out. But it's not the one most people are given by their employers because they want that perjury statement.
And yes, you are correct. That would have been Sean who was talking about the W-4.
It does look like it has at least a 2018 version. It has a space for social security number.
But it says optional.
Is that what it says in the second?
Mhm. Another one of the differences that I saw is like the field for your name. I believe it just asks for your name and it's one field as opposed to being broken out into boxes like it is on the W-4 where it's asking for a last, first, middle. I glean a lot of my information from comparing and contrasting.
Good eye.
Yeah, Sean is he's really the one who is up on that W-4 process, and actually he's been kind of silent. I haven't seen him or talked to him, so yeah, he would probably be the one that would be better equipped to answer that question.
Hopefully he didn't sign a standard form 312.
I didn't hear that last statement.
Does
Something
anybody
about
else have any other questions?
I don't, not for tonight. I am eternally grateful for all you guys' contributions. I've been taking notes constantly the whole time.
Thank you, everyone. This was really great, and you helped a lot of good questions come out so we could get great answers.
Thanks to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for hooking this up, Marie.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
Hey, y'all. It takes a while for me to get this recording from the cloud, but I'll make it available.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Special thanks to Elmago
Bye,
and
everybody.
Holly and April. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you, guys.
And Karen, thank you. And LaQuisha,
That's okay.
Laquetta.
Laquetta?
She finally speaks. She finally speaks.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Chris.
Good job, Marie.
Oh, thank you. I need to download some things from the chat before I end this, so that's why I'm on here. Let's see. I'll start the record now.